Hey, good afternoon, everybody. What's up? It's trying to get back regular onto my Facebook Live. As you can see, the title of my show, it's about women in prison, and then I was just kind of want to make sure that our women, our mothers, our sisters, our aunts, and cousins aren't forgotten in prison. So I just really wanted to make sure that we always give them that time to advocate for them. I hadn't heard a lot from a lot of women who are still advocating. It's just like we're sweeping their cause under the rug until I seen a story that was sent out by LaShonda Hall at Tallahassee, where she was talking about the different women who were sick from COVID. So it's still a real thing. And then LaVon Roach, whose motion for compassionate release was denied. First I want to thank all the women who fight for the different women in prison. I know I mostly advocate for women in federal prison because I don't really know a lot about the women who are in state prison. So I want to make sure that we don't forget about their plight too, and that they're going through something too, man. And then they suffer the same injustice as men do, even at a greater rate, because like I say, they're not really equipped to handle all the women that they have coming into prison. So they don't really understand or know how to handle the large amount of women who are coming into prison. So they kind of like, I don't know, I can't say sweep them by the wayside, but it's just like they don't want to give them a whole lot of relief, because they don't want America to think that they're so-called soft on crime. But I just think it's just out of pure and utter neglect, man. When you send a woman to prison as a first-time offender, a non-violent offender, and give her 30 years and 4 months, in that case, I'm talking about like Angela Wright, man. She went to prison as a first-time offender. Then I went and looked at her prison record. She has an impeccable, prison record. And stuff like that, things like that stand out to me, because I know that most women are either caught up with a boyfriend or a family member and stuff, and they get caught into the drug game and stuff. So, man, I really think that we as a society need to look at how they treat not only our men, people who are falsely incarcerated or unjustly or overly sentenced and stuff like that, but I really think we need to take a final look at how our women are being treated, how our women are being hauled off to federal prison and state prison, man, for minor crimes and stuff like that. Most of the time, you don't really have women who are in prison for a violent crime. So why are they giving them so much time? I still think about, man, all the time how they have Evelyn Boza Papa in prison for not wanting to tell on her boyfriend. You know what I mean? And her boyfriend her husband then has gotten relief, and she hasn't gotten any relief yet, man. She's been in over 25, 26 years, with an impeccable prison record. And all she wants to do is go back to her country. So how can we as an American society continue to lock up our women folk? These are the foundations for our family. There's no way that I'm not saying that a single parent can't be a great dad and a great mom, but and when our economy was the strongest, we had the strong two-parent families where most of the women didn't work, but they were caretakers of the family, the husband, the sons and stuff. They ensured that everything was good. They were mostly the bill payers and the finance organizers and stuff like that. And it seems we've gotten away from that. I know that we have a society that is changing, and people are not looking at men and women. I know women fight for equal rights as far as employment and things like that, but we still think about how hey Sheeta, how you doing? You all right? I love you. Yeah. We have to still think about, man, in a society that locks up a woman for a first-time non-violent drug offense and gives her 30 years. You're not giving her, especially at 30 years old, you're not giving her a chance to be rehabilitated. It's the first thing you do is throw the book at them, and then not only you could have given them a conditional plea or something, where if they got in trouble, then you can exact that sentence, a harsher sentence or anything. But to come out of the gate and give them life sentences, life without parole, or 30 years or 45 years, Like in the case of LeVon Roach, you get him 45. What's up, Draco? Man, good to see you, man. Yeah, proud of you too, brother. Yeah, just got to keep fighting, man. You know, this is what I did inside, so this is what I'm going to do out here, Draco. You know, so, yeah, ain't nothing changed, man. The only thing changed is my situation. And then, man, it's just like, hey, Clarissa, how you doing? We just have to think about, man, how there is no regard for motherhood. You know, you were talking about women who, like the woman who died earlier this year who was pregnant in federal prison and ended up dying in prison. You know what I mean? So, YouTuber, hey, what's up, nephew? How you doing? I love you. Yeah, so we have to just think about that, man. What kind of society, what kind of judge, what kind of prosecutor, or, you know, what kind of justice system would even allow laws, man, laws that would allow you to incarcerate a first-time non-violent female with a child for 30 years. Her son is already almost a teenager. You're talking about him going to be 40 years. Thank you too. Make sure you post the link for the Zoom tonight. You know, for the Reinvention Center, Lisa, please. Thank you. Yeah, make sure that you do that for me. And so it's just a disgrace, man. It's just a disgrace that we have no regard for the female's role in our society anymore. You know what I mean? And then they have no deterrence. You got young girls now who are still in the streets and don't realize, young girls and young boys, but today I want to focus on the females. Man, if you see some young girls out there that are mixed up with the wrong crowds, that are confused about their sexuality, please, I'm asking everybody who's watching, try to guide them off that path of destruction. Especially a young African American girl, because the scales of justice are imbalanced right now. They're not giving the same time for the same crime for other races, man. It's imbalanced. The deck is stacked against you too. Young black woman is stacked against you too, man. And all this comes into play with, I think about how Shanita McKnight, she just got home. She got a driver's license. She's making progress and stuff like that. But everything that went into getting her home, what Amy can do and all her family fighting to getting them home, man. We need, if whoever is coming in, whether it's Trump going out or whether it's somebody else coming in, whether it's Biden coming in, what we need to do is work on a clemency reform now for all the nonviolent women, people who are incarcerated, and the men. You know what I mean? I know they tend to be a little bit harsh on men, but then you got state laws in Mississippi and Alabama to where I can give them their third strike for a misdemeanor and give them a life without the possibility of parole for a third misdemeanor, a class A misdemeanor, not a felony for an attempted. It's the same thing with the women. You remember we had a few years back where the two women from Jackson the two sisters from Jackson had a life sentence for stealing a sneaker bar. And it wasn't until the media got involved that we got them freedom. And so I just think, man, that we need to pay attention to our women. We need to ask around what's going on with our women. At Alderson, we need to make sure that our women folk are being cared for, that our women folk are getting the right treatment during this COVID outbreak. We need to make sure that, you know how hard it is for a mother not to have seen her child. Hey, baby, what's up? To have seen her child since February until now. You're talking about 8 months, 8 months straight, and then there's no chance of it even seem like it's going to ease up. We're talking about no physical contact. One thing I know about a mom, man, a mom needs to hug her child. A wife needs to hug her husband. A woman is an emotional creature who needs physical contact. So what are we doing? Well, I mean, what kind of they're still getting COVID. They're still giving, why you can't let them visit at least behind the glass, but they're still getting COVID. Do the same testing as you do with the people coming in and out to go to work. You're doing that, and somehow COVID is still ending up in the federal prison. You're doing all the testing. You're separating them. You're moving people around. There's no work, and then you're still having outbreaks in all the federal prison. Not just some, yeah, some are higher, but then you're not even reporting the numbers right. Because if you were, then it wouldn't be so many people dying in federal prison. You know what I mean? So, hey, Carol, how you doing? Thank you, baby. I need that. I needed that today. Here's a toast to you. But on a serious note, I just think that we need to pay more attention, man, to how they're treating our women. We need to see what LaShonda Hall is talking about at Tallahassee and how many people in Tallahassee. We need to call the governor out of that state or the Bureau of Prison Director and to see how many people are actually infected with COVID at Tallahassee. Same thing at Alderson. Why would you? First, you deny Lavon's Roach petition for clemency, but then you come back a month or two after you deny it, you report your first death at Alderson. You know what I'm saying? You're saying that she wasn't at risk because there were no cases of COVID there. So why don't you revisit her petition or her clemency or her compassionate release motion now that there's a death there when she has a number of underlying conditions? You know what I mean? The same thing with Angela Wright, man. I'm saying her son Brad, he's suffering. He hasn't seen his mom physically, you know what I mean, since he hasn't touched his mom since February 1st. There have been no visit in the federal prison for anybody. So I just think that it's a shame, man, how we as a society can even sit back and watch that. And then we have, like they say, we have a clown that's pretending that talks about, well, what they need to do is shoot a bleach injection all of them. You know what I mean? Y'all know what clown I'm talking about, man. But, I won't really get into that. I don't want to go to Facebook jail after after getting out from the First Step Act. You know what I mean? And so I just really think that make sure y'all check the copy the link and join me on the Reinvention Center. We're going to be talking about Miranda rights and other Fourth Amendment violations and stuff as we continue to try to help people. So make sure that you do that. Make sure that you join us in that fight. And if y'all have any questions or topics, man, any questions for me. And if you have any information on any women who are in federal prison that you would like to post, during this live video, make sure that you post it so I can research it and speak on it, man. We can try to get them some help. I really, 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 really hate that after serving 25 years, haven't had an incident report in 25 years, over 25 years, or since she's been incarcerated, that Evelyn Boza Papa wasn't allowed to get clemency and go back to her native country of Colombia. I really hate that LaShonda Hall has a long sentence, and then that she's not allowed to go back to her country. I just think that it's just disgraceful, man, that we as Americans want to continue to punish our population for a nonviolent crime with a 30-year sentence. With a 30-year sentence. So I just think that's ridiculous, man. That's ridiculous. And the more, hold on, what you say? Oh, the link is for tonight? Okay. That's the growth hour. Thank you. Hey, Miss Campbell. Y'all have to excuse me for a minute. I still have a household that I have to run, so excuse me when I break off. So I don't want to pause it. But, if you guys have any questions or anything about anything that we talk about, you can either post them to me on my lives, or you can either give it to James during the broadcast, or you can either give it to Lisa, doing her lives and stuff like that. And I ask that you, tune in tonight and just offer your, hey, Tracy, how you doing? Thank you for all that you do too, Tracy. Thank you for all that you do and all the fighting that you do. So I just want you to know that we appreciate that and everything. So it just I just wanted to touch bases for a minute, man, about our women folk in prison. You know what I mean? And get out and campaign for them. If you know anybody who's incarcerated in your state, wherever you are, whether it's in Ohio, Lisa, whether it's in Alabama, Carol or anybody else who's watching, you know, some of those states where we are highly or overly populated with the African American population in prison. I was looking at some numbers today. I think Mississippi has over 16,000 women that's in the justice system, that's incarcerated and on parole or probation. That's a lot of women, man, when you think about it. You know. And what's up, Gary? How you doing? Right out here at the Bolivar County Correction Center, I talked to somebody out there. I think it's like 369 women who are incarcerated out there, and about 33% of them are in there for a nonviolent offense, maybe like uttering forging, but they have like 20, 25 years, man. You know, and it's overpopulated out there. So I just want to say that you know, it's this is a worldwide problem. This is not just a Mississippi problem. You know, when I look at how many people are in federal prison, and when we talk about the different people who are in federal prison, you know, it's just not it's just not fair. It's not equally yoked. You know what I mean? It's not equally yoked. So I don't know, whatever we can do about it, whether it's fighting for more clemencies. I just think a broad stroke. Even when we do clemency for the people who are in federal prison, what are we going to do about all the women across the country who are in state prison? Tell me. Because I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. Yeah. Yeah, I have to excuse my phone. The chaplains are calling and everything, so I was supposed to attend. You know, and I just I landed a new job as a chaplain, you know, with MDOC, and I get to see like some of the injustice, so to speak. So, and I think about that in terms of how African Americans are sentenced. It's a real. I seen it from the reverse side, from behind the mirror. Now I'm getting to look in the mirror and see it, you know, firsthand, and not really think about how we are being hauled into prison on the state level, on the federal level, even in the juvenile justice system, man. We have more juveniles. Mississippi has, as small as the state is, we have more juvenile sentences for juvenile offenders who are waiting to be sentenced, already have a felony pending, or already in prison than any other state. We're talking about states, places like California, New York, Houston, Texas, or we're talking about Texas, California, Illinois. We're talking about Mississippi having more juvenile offenders that are serving time than most of the state. It was one other state that was ahead. I don't know if it was Alabama or Florida. I know we're in the top 3 or the top 5, and I think that in itself is ridiculous. You know what I mean? We're one of the smallest states, the least populated state, but yet we have the most youth offenders in the justice system. Man, what did that say about us as Mississippians? You know what I mean? So I was looking, I couldn't really get an accurate number on how many juvenile female offenders that were incarcerated, but it just it's ridiculous. But I'm working on it, and I get it, and I have it. But you know, back to our women folk, man. We're going to get ready to have a massive rally soon. After we do this rally for Quentin Sanders, we're going to do a rally for clemency. You know, before our current president gets out of office, so we can try to get clemency for a lot of these women, man. So we need help from you, Carol, Lisa. You know what I mean? Tracy, and everybody, man. We got to do something, man. We got to help Amy. We got to help these other organizations, Brittany Barnett and everybody, Buried Alive and stuff, just to see what we can do for our women people, man. Because, like I say, when a woman is serving time for a nonviolent offender, that whole family is literally, shattered. You know, you're talking about a husband who has to take on the role of mother and father with teenage boys or girls, and just trying to maintain and keep the bond between that mom, that mother, or that sister, or whoever's incarcerated. You know, so I feel you, man. It just it's sad. It's really, really sad, man. And then I just want everybody to go on Amy Candu's page and look at the top 25 women waiting on clemency. I know LaShonda Hall at Tallahassee is one of them. She's serving a 45-year sentence. You know, so Evelyn Bozen Papa, she's on there. She's serving a life sentence, man, for a first-time drug offense. When several laws have changed, you got LaVon Roach, who just got denied. Hey, Jermaine, who just got denied her compassionate release, and now Alderson has released the death of their first couple of victims there. So, you know, it's just a shame. Then you got Angela Wright, is a first-time offender. She's at the medical center at Lexington. She's serving a 30-year, 4-month sentence as a first-time offender. You know what I mean? And all these women have impeccable prison record, no incident report or anything, and continue to take classes. The same thing as Alice Marie Johnson, you know, did. It just so happened her case got into the right hand. So let's get these women's cases into the right hand. You know, I'm gonna get ready to touch bases with my partner, Mr. James Jones, and our co-host Lisa Riley. I think the link has been posted. Let me go back and see. It's the Growth Hour. It's with James Jones. You know, so hey, what's up, bro? How you doing, man? Yeah, I got to get up there to see you real soon. You know, so yeah, you doing? Hey, join us on the Reinvention Center. You know, and just hear us, man. We're just going to be talking about the Fourth Amendment. We always have everybody can speak. You know what I mean? We're talking about Miranda rights and the public defenders. You know, so the passcode is there. If you look at under Jessica O'Banner comment and Lisa Riley comment, we had a passcode, the meeting ID and the passcode. So it's just been posted again. So make sure that you join us in a few minutes. We got about 20 minutes. It's also going to be on live. And we take questions. I know a lot of people know much about the justice system, but the whole justice system thing, man, a lot of people, that's one thing that really hurt me, that I didn't know anything about the justice system. Not only, especially the federal system. The federal system allows them to bring in what they call, all right, I appreciate that. You know, the federal justice system is like, you have people who don't even know you can say, hey, he's a flight risk. You can put up as much money as you want. You know what I mean? I had a bond that say if his bond is $1 million or less, we'll bond him out today. You know, the judge said, no, he's a flight risk. A magistrate, not even a federal judge, a magistrate says that he's a flight risk, so they denied me bond. So now you can't adequately fight your case or get your house in order before you go to federal prison. Then the federal prison says, okay, they don't have to obey the so-called Fourth Amendment right where you get arrested in another state. You know, they can put you in their personal car and bring you back over here, and they say it's harmless error because they believe that you were guilty this after you're convicted. You know, once you're convicted, it's over with. You know, they say all those rights go out the window. Okay, you know, the jury found you guilty. And after you're found guilty, they can come back outside of what the jury found and bring in, what's up, Clint? And bring in what they call ghost dope or ghost charges. Ghost dope is something that a person who's already in jail made up to say you sold him or he sold you. You know what I mean? And yeah, Dan Woods, make sure that you get down and join the Reinvention Center at 7 o'clock. Got about 20 minutes and stuff. You know, so that's the whole thing. So a lot of women are in prison for ghost dope. A lot of women are in prison for that 924C, the 924C charge. Or is it 924F? That's possession of a firearm while in possession of drugs. They'll ride with their boyfriend or guns in the car. They charge both people with the gun. So she gets in hands with it. She goes to prison. He gets in hand with it. He goes to prison. So this is all after trial. Instead of making a factual finding at trial to say this gun belonged to you, you charge both people with the gun. There are several people in prison serving time that has time for the same weapon. especially if it's in a conspiracy with an 846 charge, which is a conspiracy charge, conspiracy drug charge. They charge everybody on that indictment with the same gun, though you never you never probably were never in the vicinity of the gun, but because you're on that same indictment, you're on that same paperwork, then you got enhanced 2 points for that gun. And 2 points in the sentencing scheme of the federal prison is a whole lot. It takes you from 60 to 70 months to, okay, just add about 30 months to each one, to like 120 to 150 months. That's a lot. You know what I mean? You know, people don't realize it. Then they give you a 2-point leadership role or 2 points obstruction of justice because you won't testify against your co-defendant. So they say you obstructed justice because you wouldn't tell what you know. It's just so many different tricks that they use to put our men and women in prison. So the women are suffering just as much because 9 times out of 10, they should have never had any ghost dope. Even if they were driving for their boyfriend, that should have been it. It should have been possession of whatever they had. You know what I mean? It's just so many schemes that they use and tricks that they use to try to put pressure on these women who think they're being loyal to a guy that she's dating or you know, a friend, whatever, thinks she's being loyal. Well, she keeps her mouth closed, and then he turns around and testifies on her, saying she made all these drug runs and everything. She knew what she was doing. Yeah, she's the one. You know, she's the mastermind behind it. That's just how the Fed works. The first one that cop a plea and testify on the other one, that's the one that's going to get a deal, and everybody that's on that end trying to stay loyal is the one that's going to get a buck of their time. Me, I didn't have any co-defendant. I didn't want to testify on nobody. I wasn't going to testify on nobody. I just wanted to accept responsibility. But the whole part about it, they were framing me, so they would never offer me a plea. You know what I mean? They never offered me a plea, so I got a 400-month sentence as a first-time offender. Never been in trouble, anything. You know, so I served 23 years of that, man, and here I am trying to ensure that that doesn't happen to any more people. You know, so yeah, it's crazy, it's ridiculous, but everybody's on the outside looking in. But we don't ask questions when our loved ones go to prison. We sit back and just say, hey, man, I hope he's all right. I hope she's all right or whatever. But these people are actually in jail for a crooked justice system. You know what I mean? We're talking about, man, you took the whole trial effect. Only thing they want to do is get you to trial, get you convicted, and they're going to put together a sentencing scheme to where they won't be around when you get out of jail, or they'll be too old, and you'll be too old. You'll be so happy to get your freedom that you don't even want to mention or say anything against the Fed. That's just how cold they are, man. And it's absolutely crazy, man. Hey, it's my time. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. What's up, Clint? Make sure you jump over too. What's up, Mike? How you doing, Mike? Man, it is, man. Just come over to the Reinvention Center. We're going to talk about the Miranda rights and just how they skirt those. Man, it says in the Fourth Amendment that everybody has the right to be Mirandized, you know. And most of the time, 90% of the time, they don't do that. But they get around it by the public defender. You know what I mean? Or the prosecutor saying, letting the prosecutor speak on your behalf. They still got to know, and then they go ahead and ask you questions and stuff that they end up using you for trial. You think that you're making honest statement to your lawyers and stuff like that, and they end up using that same stuff that you told your public defender in trial against you. It happens more times than it doesn't happen, you know, in the public defense. I mean, in the courtroom. So it's so many tricks and schemes that they use, man, to lock us up. And people will have an aha moment. I can take you down to Westlaw and look at some cases, and you'll have an aha moment for 9 out of 10 of those cases. You wouldn't believe just how corrupt their scheme is. The same thing. When you look at an African American serving time for a convicted felon, they have the right to either give you 3 years, give you a mandatory 5 years, and run it consecutive, or run it concurrent. They got that power. You know what I mean? So when you don't play their rules, if you get a 10-year sentence, you get a gun with your sentence, you have to serve the 10 years out, and after you finish the 10 years, then you start the 5 years after that. It's stacked on top of that. or they have the right to run it side by side to where you can serve the 10 and the 5 at the same time. You know, so it's just so many tricks of the trade that they use to use systematic racism against a lot of people. You know, you don't believe it? It's true, man. I'll show you some paperwork. Matter of fact, I'm doing one of these lives. I'm gonna post some paperwork so everybody can see. You know, in the enhanced. Mike, where my stars at, man? We got a new thing that we're getting ready to start. You know, Facebook had it to where you can give people stars during the live broadcast, like when they're campaigning or advocating for people, like we'll be doing with Quentin Sanders. It's going to be freedom for Quentin Sanders, but you know, what we're going to do in order to raise money for his defense, we're going to ask that people buy Facebook stars. And if you could, Mike, you know, just post a link or something where they can do it and they can see. It's just a whole new way, man. It's just how they're making it easier for people to support people without using Cash App or PayPal or anything like that. You know, so, you know, maybe not this time, but we'll make sure that we get that out so everybody can see. You know what I mean? Yeah. That money, John, that money, because it's already paid. That's the same way they haven't even served 2 or 3 years of their time, and then they end up getting compassionate release. You know, and where most people like Rufus Rochelle and Phyllis Walls and so many other African American men come out and they're still on house arrest after they get their laws, after they get their compassionate release. Most of the people with the big money, they're free. Like Nagin, they're not on house arrest. Like Ray Nagin, you know what I mean? Man, it's so many people who are them high profile people. They're not on house arrest. You know what I mean? Once they get them compassionate release, they're free. They're back out in society. You'll walk by them today and never knew that they had a 30-year sentence. You know what I mean? They give them less time because it's the politics of things, man. It's the politics of things. It's not what they know. It's not what they know. It's who they know. That's in everything that you do. You know what I mean? The same thing. If T.I. had got caught with, if anybody else other than T.I. had got caught with what he got with, he'd be serving a life sentence right now. Unequivocally, no doubt, be serving a life sentence. You know, but because he's who he is, you know what I mean? I don't blame anybody for taking advantage of the system, but what about the poor people who has to take a public defender? You know what I mean? You got people that's been charged with the Kingpin statute. The Kingpin statute is a statute where you're supposed to have sold so much dope, you're supposed to have so much asset in order to be charged with the Kingpin statute. Yet and still, if they had all this money and asset, you allowed them to get a public defender. A public defender says that I'm indigent and I can't afford a lawyer. But how can you charge a man with the Kingpin statute and then allow him to come back and get a public defender? You already know that man ain't got no money. You just charge him with the highest statute so you can give him the most time. You know what I'm saying? You talking about 33 years. You talking about 35,000, about 35,000 a year to incarcerate somebody. Not counting the money that he would make if he worked in the FPI Industries, Unicorp, whatever, you know, in their factories making their material. You know what I mean? So, but you're talking about 35,000 a year. And you're talking about, you got people right now who are crowded. And no, the system isn't for anybody. It's definitely not for African American people. And it damn sure is not for our African American women. You know. But as I say, that's the topic tonight, man. Again, man, y'all go on Amy's page and sign LaShonda Hall's clemency. Evelyn Boza Papa, make sure you sign her. LaVon Roach, she's at Alden, serving 45 years. They just denied her compassionate release. You know what I mean? And even though she has underlying conditions for COVID. Then you got Angela Wright, who's at Lexington, FMC, Lexington. You know what I mean? And again, you know, we're praying for you, Shanita McKnight. You know, she just came home. It's like a year, 1 year now. You know what I mean? So we have a lot of women who end up getting compassionate release, but there's still so many more who need it, who are actually sick. You know what I mean? And need help. And like I say, man, no woman should be serving a 30-year sentence for a nonviolent. No man or woman should be serving a 30-year sentence for a nonviolent drug offense. Absolutely ridiculous, man. You guys take care, man. Join me at the Reinvention Center. All right, switching over. Good night, man. Love you guys. Take care. How you doing, Miss Coleman? Thank you for joining in. Come on over to the Reinvention Center. The link is in the growth hour. All right. If you got Zoom, jump on. All right. Take care. I see you there.